Hiya, how are you? I have to rewire my brain now to speak British because I've been translating again from English to Spanish, just like 3 days straight now. I've been translating this video for VetMed, and I have to. Okay, back to speaking British, English, whatever thing I'm spewing out right now. Um, so I have, for the first time in a while, actually taken some notes for this episode because I didn't. I basically, what it is, I'm going to work next week. I come back, I'm home for 5 days, and then I'm off to travel. We're doing a road trip for 2 weeks around Scotland. So if you're somewhere in Scotland between the 23rd of May and I believe the 8th of June, let me know so I can meet some of you guys. That'll be really fun. And if you have any suggestions of stuff I should see, me and Bruce, we've watched Outlander twice. I'm not lying. I don't have access to the 8th season, so I'm going crazy right now. But I have read the books, so it's okay. So obviously we're gonna see like Culloden, we're gonna Fort William, we're doing all the things, no. But if you have like an extra tip about what to see in Scotland, let me know. Um, and I have, and then obviously, so I go to work, I come back, I go to Scotland 2 weeks, then I go to work, and then I come back, and then I have visitors and stuff. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep up with the podcast episode every week because also we don't want to burn out as creators, just as vets. So I was thinking, like, what episode can I give you guys? Like, so if you hear nothing from me over a few weeks, like, what is something that can really help you? Like, what can you internalize? What can you work on for a couple of weeks if you don't hear anything else from me? I'm not saying like I'm the only help you will ever get, but if that's the case, no? So I was thinking about what qualities you need in VetMed to function in VetMed, to be happy in VetMed, not just function and survive, right? Because like we only live once. Why would you only want to survive? You want to thrive, you want to be happy, you want to get to your deathbed and look back and say, I did it all. I loved it. It was hard sometimes, but I did a lot of significant things, all that, right? So we don't want to just be in somewhere and just float along and not get anything out of our lives. So if we're in the profession, we want the challenges, we want the adversities, but we also want to have a fucking great time, right? We want it all, up and downs, but if we have downs, you also want ups. So what are the top 5 qualities you need? And after a ton of coaching and a ton of like reading I have done, the podcast, listening to other vets, working 22 years, I come up with top five qualities. And I have a disclaimer before this. So first of all, I would hate for you to think that what I'm telling you is whatever's going on systemically, organizationally, whatever is going on in the veterinary world right now, that is what it is. And you just have to put up with it. And you just have to change yourself to fit into the system and just be strong and resilient enough to just get on with it. I would hate for you to think that I'm gaslighting you in this way, but what I am saying is if you want to stay in this profession, and I'm assuming you have some sort of idea of doing that, and that's why you're listening to this podcast, there are so many things that you can do as an individual to feel better, to thrive better, to not let things affect you, to have a hobby, to have a life, to love people, to go to restaurants, to enjoy your life, and also actually get the most out of when you are at work. Even if the place you work at, the organization you work at, the clients you have are not ideal. And it does start with a man in the mirror. I mean, have you seen Michael? Have you seen Michael Jackson the film? Like he is so amazing. But he has this song, right, where it's like it starts with a man in the mirror, and like there's nothing that can change in an organization, in a clinic, if you feel frazzled and burned out and all you can think about is leaving. You are not going to help the system either, right? So there's a lot of parts of VetMed that probably needs readjusting, and I think we're going through a lot of changes right now with, the claims about we are way too expensive and vets are just in it for the money and all that. So I'm sure there's going to be changes, but there's some part of that, I guess a third, that we can take on as individuals, right? And I'm not saying get on with it, like do my breathing exercises, do my meditation, do my evaluations, do the model and all that, so you can then function better and make more money for your clinic. I'm hopefully getting across the message that I want you to have a really great time working in a profession you work really hard to get into. So that's the first disclaimer, right? Nothing of what I say is ever so you can just fit better in the square hole that you were never made for. That is never what I'm my intention, right? So I just want to say that if that would ever cross your mind. And the second thing I want to say is something I struggled with for a while, which was somebody would say, well, you need to be confident, you need to be this, you need to be that. And I would be like, well, I'm not like that because I'm just not like that. That is in my genes, in my upbringing, the way my family treated me, my prior relationship, the school I went to. I just don't have these qualities. And I really, really, really want to put across that no matter what age you are, we do have neuroplasticity. We can rewire our neural pathways, which means that if you are listening to the five top qualities I'm going to talk about, and you are like, but I don't have that, like, don't fret, like, don't get hopeless now, because if you practice, you can be like in the top 10% of all of these if you practice it. How do I know? Because I've been there. Like, I lacked confidence. I could not gain perspective. I was anxious all the time. I had zero self-awareness, and now I am probably one of the persons I know that have the most self-awareness in the world, you know. And anybody I work with or I'm surrounded by can tell you this. And I have not always been like this. I might sometimes have seemed it on the outside, but what was going on inside this little head was not good. And I have changed so much. And I didn't know about coaching or all this working on yourself until 6, 7 years ago. So, you know, and should I disclose my age? I'm becoming 50 this year. I know I don't look it. I look so much younger, don't I? It's because I'm vegan. Become vegan? No. It's because I'm so happy all the time. No, not neither. But what I mean is, it doesn't matter the age you are, you can change. You can change the way you think, you can change your perspective. And to me, this work is the one only important work in the world, because I don't care how good your family is, I don't care how good your job is, I don't care how much money you earn or where you live. If you don't have self-awareness and if you're not happy inside, then nothing else matters, right? Because all this like suppressed frustration, anger, feeling shit, it also affects our physiology, right? And we become ill, we get fibromyalgia, we get allergies, we get, you know, all sorts of diseases when we have this like suppression of our feelings and how we are inside, right? So these were the two disclaimers. One is, I'm not telling you to change yourself to become this go happy and now you can just like put up with the shit rains on you. And I'm not saying either that and I'm not when you listen to this, don't think that you don't have these qualities, so fuck that, right? You can for sure practice, just like you can flex any muscle and get strong, you can also learn these. Okay, so the five top qualities, I'm going to say them and then we're going to go through them. So the first is ability to gain perspective, knowing when your brain is lying to you and challenge it, the ability to calm down, self-awareness, and finding the positive side of things. And let me now go through them. Ability to gain perspective means that when you're inside, when you're down in the pool of misery and busyness and everybody's against me and you know, I can't, everything is coming in and I don't know what to do next, and you know, this little thing is putting me out. When you're down there and you can't get up like a drone gaining perspective, it is very difficult to make the right decisions. It is very difficult to have your priorities in order. It is very difficult to show up in a way and do things that you can then look back at in hindsight later and say, "Oh yeah, that made sense. I did that and I thought that." No, when when we don't have an ability to gain perspective, we tend to get very hyper fixated on little things that are not really that important. It's a bit like when a friend complains about their partner to you, right? So I have a friend that complains about a boyfriend all the time. And I'm like, you need to gain some perspective here, right? Because him not mopping every day might not be, I'm like, when you're lying on your deathbed and you're looking back, like, are you really gonna have wanting to spend so much time talking about how he doesn't clean the house? You know, is that something, can you gain a bit of perspective and see what are other qualities he gives to your relationship? Now, what does he provide? And this ability to gain perspective is something you can learn by often looking at it after the fact. So let's say you struggle with gaining perspective when you're busy at the clinic, for example. You come in and there's like these emails you need to do to answer. You need to read them, you answer them, and you have like prescription you need to put out, and there's like clients coming in and they're booking in more emergencies, and you just lose perspective and you just cannot seem to make the right decision, and you don't know what to prioritize, and you don't know like what's most important, and you just feel so overwhelmed because you don't have a perspective, no? And then often when you're in it, like you're swimming in this little pool and everything is going on around you and you can't float above, the floating above can often be the afterside. So if you've had a challenging day and it's been really busy and afterwards you're like, well, that was a right shit show and I'm not sure I did the right thing, is evaluating afterwards. So you kind of learn after the fact. It's a bit where like when you're in an argument, or you're in a conflict with another person, and then you say a lot of things you didn't mean, or you think you should have said something different. And then after the fact, then you sit maybe and journal on it and you sit and write it down. You're like, oh, I see what happened there. I seen that this triggered me and this is why I jumped down their throat, or I triggered them this way with this, what I said. And you then reflect on it. And the next time you have a similar conversation, a similar argument, then you can show up differently because you have reflected on it after the fact. But when you're in the conversation or in an argument, there's no way in hell you can gain perspective, right? So often it's after the fact, by evaluating like what happened, what did I do? What do I like about what I did? What would I do differently? You know, the 3-step evaluation process I've teach you. I teach it in another episode, and I mentioned it several times because it is so important. When you evaluate after the fact, you can gain perspective. And this applies to everything. So for example, if you're like, my life is so shit, I'm like blah blah blah, because you've been on social media and you've seen, I've talked about this before, right? Where you see this like influencer who's like super fit with the abs and you're like, oh my God, I got this belly. That's my problem. And then they're an amazing mom, and then they're also making all this money and they're sitting on this yacht and you're like, oh my God, my life is so shit in comparison. No? Then going back and then gaining a perspective of where you are, where you've been, where you're going can also really help you to like, okay, calm down. Look, my life is not that bad, right? But when you're in it and you only compare to like little aspects, so this little aspect of my life I don't like, and I compare it to this person's life, and then I don't like it. When you can find a perspective, both in a day, in a clinic, in the consult, like float above, that's how you can, that's a really good quality to have. But you get it partly with the next steps I'm going to give you, but also evaluating after the fact is super important. Another quality you want to have when you're in VetMed is knowing when your brain is lying to you and challenge it. We have talked about the negativity bias before, where our brains will just go on and on about how useless you were at this, and you should have done this differently, and why didn't you do it differently, and you don't know enough, and if only another vet had come in. You know, when your brain starts its spiel, you need to be able to realize that these are just thoughts that your brain is coming up with. It's only coming up with these thoughts because it wants to protect you, because it's what it's been doing for the last 50,000 years since you were living in the caves. That is not useful. It's making you feel like shit. And because it's making you feel like shit, this is not something constructive. We can't really use this. It's not helpful. And you need to be able to challenge it. And how do you do this? The best way is first to be aware that your brain is lying to you. And for this, you need to be aware, what is your brain aware of? What is your brain actually saying? And to be aware of your brain is actually saying, you most likely are going to want to write it down. So we're coming back to journaling. And I know in VetMed, we tend to be very black and white, very all or nothing. So I should journal every day for 20 days and then, for 20 minutes. And now I haven't done it. So now I'm useless. I am not good at journaling. I failed yet another thing. I wasn't perfect at, so I will never journal again. No. Journal when you can. Journal when you get inspired, or set an alarm, or do it for 5 minutes, or do it when you're in the car, or do it when you wake up, or do it when you go to bed. And you don't have to do it every day, and don't have to do it, at specific times, and it doesn't have to be for 20 minutes. Journaling just once in a while is like 2,000 times better than never doing it. I cannot reiterate the importance of this. I've said it before, like when I was in the life coach school, they forced us to journal every day. Like when I was doing the master coach certifications, it was like every day nonstop for 6 months. And it gave me an ability to know what my brain was saying that is just not Like it's super normal, no? And this really, really helps. So, but you don't have to journal every day, but you will likely have to do it sometimes in order for you to know what your brain is telling you, or you will just feel like shit and you don't know why. The ability to calm down. And with this, I mean the ability to realize when your nervous system is out of whack, when you've been triggered, realize you're anxious, realize the different level of anxiety you and have methods to calm yourself down. So breathing exercises are amazing. I use them like on the go. I will be like, really breathing in for long, hold and breathe out again. Any breathing exercise you can find. I have a few episodes on it. You can look on YouTube. There's like Sam Harris. I've got some amazing breathings. There's heart variability. Um, Heart variability, something breathing exercise as well to calm yourself down. Any somatic exercise, so like yoga, stretches, meditation, anything that can help you to calm down that works for you. And this is an ability that you have to work on. It's something you have to practice because you're gonna have to try it out different methods, like what works for me. So this breathing just makes me more nervous. For example, the alternate breathing they do in yoga when you first close one nostril breathing and then you close the other one and so on. That can be triggering to some people because they feel like they're restricting my airways. So if you like, don't do it. Like do something else. But you're gonna have to practice and find out what works for you. So for me, like stretching, I love stretching my hamstrings. I love stretching like my shoulders, be aware of like do shoulder rolls, like be aware of what's going on in my body, really noticing that knot in my stomach and breathing into it and like consciously relax my diaphragm really works for me. Um, I notice as well when I start talking really fast, like, oh wait, I'm talking really fast, like breathe, pause, take some breaths, just calm yourself down. The ability to calm yourself down when you are in a full like being anxious and you're just like do and I need to do more and I need to do more and then like pause, stop and calm yourself down. It is so important in the veterinary practice because it will help with that perspective. It will help you to know what thoughts you won't just let your brain just like randomly do this, do that, and what about the dog over there? And this one, I need to call somebody, and this and the other, and or you have a complaint, and your body just goes into like fight and flight straight away, and then you can't function the rest of the day because you're just like in this level of anxiety. And also the ability to calm yourself down is so important. And now I feel like self-awareness, when I wrote it down, makes sense. And I feel like self-awareness is actually the sum of all these things. But self-awareness is also, that's the fourth thing, by the way. Self-awareness is knowing what you're thinking, knowing what you're feeling, knowing what your patterns are, knowing why you do what you do, knowing what type of person you are. Like I tend to like be an introvert in some situations, extrovert in other situations. Knowing what triggers you, knowing what exercises you love doing and what you don't, and accepting stuff about yourself. For example, I'm a terrible runner. Like I can go if like I'm running with other people and that, but I am sore for so many days after, and I hate running. I see other people that love it, and I am aware of this, and I accept that about me, and I can still go running sometimes, but I don't have like these crazy thoughts I used to have, like why am I not better running and I should be better at running and why can other run? Why can you not? So having that self-awareness about yourself and in each moment, you know what's going on. You know, like, oh shit, I'm feeling really anxious. I got triggered. Why did I get triggered? Oh, because this person said that, which reminds me of when my dad used to whatever. You have that self-awareness. You have an awareness of, oh, I'm feeling I'm feeling really low. So, for example, in Denmark now, the media are just going completely crazy around the vets being in it for the money. Like they have like these few examples of some really expensive operations that the big corporates have like the pricing and all that, no? And it really makes me feel low when I read it because then like all these people that are forever like reading the Daily Mail and the Sun and the same type in Denmark, Ekstrabladet, they're sitting there, yeah, because you are charging too much, and why do you charge so much when you are doing emergencies? These people who have like never fucking had an emergency phone in their hand in their life, right? It just makes me angry and frustrated and sad, and I have to my self-awareness in that moment is, oh, I'm noticed I'm reading these comments on this post about, the television has posted about this like breeder where they charge him for a C-section. Oh no, like why would we do that? And I notice I'm getting like wound up and I'm getting frustrated and notice it, that self-awareness in that moment going, oh wait, why am I reading these comments? Like these people I don't have to deal with. I don't even work in Denmark, Jesus Christ, so who cares? I can go in and um I can defend vets, and if I feel like it, I might comment and I might say, look, there's another perspective, which is like, well, during emergencies, it's no fun, all the things like why we cost what we cost. But um, I have this self-awareness of what is happening inside of me. I'm reading this, it's not making me feel good. Why I'm not feeling good? Because this is happening, and so on. So that this self-awareness, instead of just being flung around. And now today I read this post on Facebook. So today I feel like shit. And tomorrow my manager says like, oh, you're not making enough money. And then I feel shit again. And then a client says, oh, that wasn't really helpful. And why don't you know more? And now I feel shit again. But I don't know why. I'm just letting like the world just push me around. And I have no idea of why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. And I don't even know why I do the things I do. So having self-awareness means having control over your life, but not control as in like I need to control everybody and I need to control what they think about me and I need to control what they think and I need to control what's happening, but more like in the driver's seat of your life, as opposed to feeling like everything is happening to me. Um, and I think that has really helped me is finding the positive side of things. And another disclaimer, I'm not saying, oh, just be positive about it all, this like 3-year-old agility dog just got run over and it's terrible and the owners didn't have any money. Well, let's find the positive. That's not the case. No, but it's also true that we tend to go into a negativity bias and we tend to look at how horrible everything is. And if you can find a way to see the positive about things, no, it will just make your life a lot nicer. It could be well, the agility dog, like, it's terrible. It's a young dog, and everything was going so well, and the family loved him, but he had a quick death. At least he didn't die of, kidney failure, and he was like in and out, having to have drugs and fluids for like months because the people couldn't let him go. You can you can find something in any situation where you're like, this is terrible, and at least I'm here for them. You have a euthanasia. These clients are really, really crying. This is getting really uncomfortable. They are like all over the place. They're just like screaming and crying, and it's like not very good. But at least I'm calm. I'm here for them. I can be there for them, and I have my own emotional health in order, so I can be here for them. No? That would be a positive thing. If I've talked about before that time when I had a consult, I had an exchange with some clients. And then after that, my nurse and my assistant turned around and said, I can't believe they said that to you. And I was like, say what? What? I had not perceived any negativity because I choose to see the positive side of things. And what does that mean? Did I miss something? And now they're going to write a bad review about me and I don't know about it. No, like you deciding to not see all the negativity, you deciding to focus on the positive side of things just makes your life a much nicer. And that is why as well I push, gratitude exercises of finding things to be grateful for. Just put you in a state where you then find the good things in more things around you. So for example, let me see, because I don't want you to think that I'm gaslighting into I live in this super toxic workplace and you're telling me I should just tell myself they're all nice to me. That is not the case. But for example, Bruce, my husband, is British and he's lived in Spain for many years. And he just has this, like, I think I can't coach, like, do not try to coach your husband, whatever you do, or your partner, or your mom, or your kids, unless they ask you. So he tells himself that he is not good at languages. So he will never try to learn Spanish. He can do like the basic gracias and so on, but he doesn't want to sit down and learn because he has like a trauma from school. I don't know what it is, that he will not learn languages. So he has so many other good qualities about him. Like, he's always there for me. He always like fixes things at home. Like, well, I'm not going to give you a long list of everything I'm grateful for, but I could really fixate on him not wanting to learn Spanish. it makes it complicated when we go out because when we meet up with friends, this morning, for example, I had a coffee with my old accountant here in Spain from when I had my clinic, and her and I were like talking, and Bruce was there, and he didn't say anything, and several times he said, "I feel really bad. He's not understanding." I'm like, "No, but that's his choice. He chose not to learn Spanish. Like, whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, I don't know. I don't care. But right now he's not speaking Spanish and it's not my problem. And I don't see it either as a negative thing. I don't sit there and focus on him not partaking in the conversation, if you know what I mean. Like that is something a lot of us in relationships, we are like, but he should be more, he should do more, he should be better at. I don't do that. I focus on the positive things in him because I know I can't change him. I tried a few times to coach him on this language issue and it didn't go down well. So I'm like, fine. He's not learning Danish either, which I can much better understand. But I could focus on that, right? I could really make it a problem that he doesn't speak the language because it means I have to translate. I'm the one that has to do the orders in the restaurant and so on and so on. But I don't. I focus on everything else he brings to revelation, to our relationship that I really appreciate, that I'm really grateful for. And there's a lot of his qualities that I absolutely love, and that's the reason I'm with him. So I've chosen to be with him. I've chosen as he is. I don't try to change him. And I really focus on all the marvelous positive things he has. And I don't focus on the negative things he has, which could be that he's not multilingual like me, which makes it a bit complicated when we travel or when we go out. He's British, so he doesn't like talking about his feelings. So I can't really go to him and talk about things I would talk about in the podcast or struggles I have. I can't talk to him. I talk to my girlfriends. I talk to my coach about it instead because we talk about other things. No, so obviously, if he was like abusive to me, then I wouldn't just go, oh, but he's really good at cooking and making tea. I wouldn't do that, right? But within reason, we can search for the positive in our workplace. We can search for the positive in a consult. We can search for the positive in an operation. Okay, I'm not that great at bed space yet. I took 4 hours again, but at least I didn't freak out when it started bleeding, or at least I found the ovary myself this time. This capacity for finding the positive in things and focusing on them doesn't mean that we lower our standards. It doesn't mean that we then don't get better at things because now I'm like, oh, I just tell myself I'm really good at bed space and then I'm never going to get better. No, that's not it. But focus on the positive things gives you hope. It gives you motivation. It gives you, it just makes you feel better, and it's much easier to learn and get better at things and keep going in and trying things when you can find the positive of it, no? Or you look at the day looming in front of you, got like so many consults, or let's say you got a ton of surgeries and you feel uncomfortable by some of them. What positive thing can you find? Oh, at least I got an experienced nurse with me, or well, I'll put my favorite Crocs on, or well, at least I'll get better at this because now I'm forced to do it so many times. Keep like finding the positive things side of things, and it will make your life so much better because it just will make you feel better. And a person can be, two people can be in the exact same situation and live it completely differently. I think the most extreme example of this, which is a movie, is not a real situation, but what is it called? La vida es bella. Life is beautiful. The one where I think the Italians and it's the man and his son, and they get put into a concentration camp, and the son is quite tiny, so he doesn't really get what's going on. And the dad his one mission is that his son should not actually have a bad time. And he just does so many funny things. So there's a point where the German officer comes in and he's telling them like, I'm gonna kill you all if you don't do this, if you don't do that in German. And the dad is like, I can translate, knowing there's a lot of Italians, and he translates like, well, if you don't eat there will only be butter with the jam if you eat the whatever. Like he just translates if it was some sort of kindergarten, and all he's telling them is like they need to eat all their bread or something along those lines. No, and all the other prisoners are like, what the fuck is he saying? Because he doesn't want the son to be scared, no? So the son goes through the whole period in the concentration camp and never realizes the horribleness that's going on around him because the dad doesn't want him to see it, no? And why, like, and obviously I don't want you to work in a horrible clinic with a super toxic environment, just get on with it. But it's also true that you can be in challenging, difficult situations and you can get through them and have a perspective that is not gonna weigh you down at the end of the day, at the end of the week. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope you can see what I mean. Like your perspective is everything. Um, and the combination of this, the ability to gain your perspective, know what perspective you have, knowing when your brain is lying to you, your ability to like find some somatic exercises that can calm you down, like breathing, yoga, meditation, whatever it is. Your self-awareness, like keep like working on that and then use all that also to find the positive side of things and not focus so much on the negativity of things will definitely definitely help you be much happier in VetMed. And I don't say this, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass because I have lived this. Like I have worked through each of these issues and I can see it before and I can see an after in myself and I can see it before and I can see an after in every single one of my clients I have worked with, even people that have just had like one session with me. At the end of it, they're like, oh, I'd never thought of it like this. Your brain chooses to make you see things in a way that make you come across as a bad vet, as someone who doesn't really know what they're doing, and you go through life thinking you're not very confident and you're not really capable, and you can change that perspective and just have a hell of a good fun, of life instead of feeling miserable or feeling down or feeling anxious or feeling so worried all the time. Right? So I want to encourage you to do this. And this was an extra long episode, I think, and hopefully it'll make up for if I don't have time to record another podcast episode. And to help you with all this that I've just mentioned, if you haven't yet, try and take my quiz that will show you a bit like in all of these aspects, where are you at and which thing is the one you could probably work on to very specifically for you, because you take a quiz and then you get a specific answer for you. And then I'll send you a guide to how you can improve that specific aspect. So you can also like start feeling these shifts and feeling these perspectives and go like, oh yeah, no, I can actually feel great in this profession and I can raise above all the stuff that it's not about in my control and I can do my part to feel so much better, no, and have a great time. Like I have it now. I do love going to work. I don't love not sleeping at night, but I do love working at night and have that fun. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. And yeah, let me know how you get on. Let me know if you've done the quiz. Let me know if you're in Scotland, I would love to meet people. And if there's anything you think I should see. All right. Take care. Bye.